Welcome to Fish Biz, the business of fishing podcast, where you're going to gain knowledge and insight that's going to help you succeed in the recreational sport fishing industry. Keith Allen and Brad Nickel from Mark 5 Strategies back at it again. And today, we're going to talk about some solutions that can help you save time, help you save money, help you eliminate headaches and hassles that go with getting your products from your facility to your distributors, to your dealers, and to your end customers. And to help us do that today, we've got two great guests from Shipmonk, a fulfillment center in South Florida. We have Jan Bednar, CEO of Shipmonk, and Vice President of Sales, Jonathan Smith. Jan, Jonathan, welcome to Fish Biz.
How are you guys?
Thanks for having us.
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Well, before we dive into the dirty details, let's get a little bit of a background on Shipmonk and you guys and how you went from a guy who I'm guessing you weren't like a bike messenger at some point in time that decided, hey, I want to scale my delivery service. How did you end up with this giant fulfillment center in Florida?
Yeah, so we started the business pretty much right after graduating college, and we started in a package forwarding business. So, we're really taking packages, boxes from different retailers here in the States, and then we were shipping them to customers overseas to help them buy products that they couldn't get anywhere else. And this one beautiful morning, I woke up and I got a phone call or an email from a startup in Fort Lauderdale who just raised a couple $1 million for their Internet of Things products. And he was like, hey, man, the wife of our CEO read an article about you in the newspaper, and, we want you to start shipping our products to our customers. And I was like, well, that's not exactly what we do. I mean, we're a package forwarding company. We ship packages internationally, but, we're a startup. We're looking for revenue. So we're like, okay, well, maybe it might be worth exploring. And so we started really looking into that industry, and after doing kind of a brief analysis, we said, let's do it. I mean, this is a good opportunity. There's really not that many good players in the game that would have the technology background and the technology in place that would really make it easier for these merchants to use a fulfillment center. And so we just, saw this opportunity, started exploring it, and then just kind of dove in and really started growing the fulfillment part of our business. And that brought us where we are today.
When did that start? When did you get that call?
So this was exactly 3 years ago when, we had a 2,000 square foot, I don't even want to call it a facility. It was more of an office with a fence around it. It was, I got, we had a couple shelves. We actually had empty boxes that we assembled and put them on the shelf. So it looks like we have some. But it was just it's kind of a cool environment. It was an accelerated program in local, at a local university, and so we wanted to look like we're doing business. And so it was kind of one of those like fake it until you make it things. But for us, fortunately, it paid off, and we had people come in and they were like, "Oh, this is kind of impressive. You guys are doing something cool." And so we started, with the very small customers, but we very slowly, actually, kind of fast, realistically, grew to a large facility. We moved to a 15,000 square foot facility, and started scaling it a little bit, and then had a better software by that time. And now we're at this brand new state of the art 45,000 square foot facility in Deerfield, and where we ship 100,000 orders every month, and for people to over 200 countries. So it's a really exciting. It has been a kind of an exciting journey, right, John?
Tell us a little bit, Jonathan, about the types of customers you guys are servicing and what kind of products you're shipping.
Yeah, so we really specialize in helping startup companies scale. The main kind of industries we serve are crowdfunding campaigns. These are companies that are going on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Some of the other companies we work with are looking to get into big box retailers like Walmart, Target, Amazon, and our specialties in e-commerce fulfillment, where we connect to not only the marketplaces or the big box retailers, but e-commerce platforms like Shopify or WooCommerce, Magento, where your websites can take these orders and then where it sends that information to our inventory management system where we process them and ship them.
That's great. Okay.
So I was just going to say, so that makes it really, really simple for a company, large or small, to simply link to the fulfillment center, and as orders come in, fulfillment's able to download the orders and process them. And when they're storing inventory at your facility, obviously it's a very simple process. Cuts down on the shipping time, cuts down on labor that they have to deal with, cuts down on the time they have to spend getting those orders, looking at those orders, and then figuring out, okay, how we getting these out the door. So you guys are handling all of that electronically.
So the majority of my time is speaking to startups and kind of understanding some of the problems they go through. And a lot of startups out there, and I'm sure some of the listeners, they are doing this in their garage. They're doing this in a friend's house. They might have a small facility, and their time is the most valuable thing that they have. And so, at that point in time, it makes sense for them to handle this process themselves, but it gets to a certain extent where they need to focus on sales or marketing or building their brand, developing stronger relationships with their suppliers, and you kind of lose the aspect of handling those boxes, and your customers kind of feel that lapse. So when you have a fulfillment center kind of take over, it really just gives you kind of more time to really manage your business, and that's really where the key is.
And I can tell you from experience that most wives don't really like having 2 8-foot tables full of product and padded envelopes in the living room for more than a week or two. And I felt that pain.
I think that's another key guy we should probably start forward. How many marriages we've saved? Garages.
You should put the ticker on the website.
Right, but seriously, a lot of startups, right? You're guys are doing this themselves, right? And there is no infrastructure, and there is no warehouse, or if there is, it's a small warehouse, and they're storing product there, and then they're bringing a little bit of inventory home, and they're shipping what they need out, or they got to go make a run to the warehouse, get what they need, and get it out the door. That's just not an efficient way to manage your time. And other than you two guys, I don't really know anybody that likes doing it.
That's true. I mean, what the funny thing is, our goal when we started the company is to make the process automated through technology. And it might seem easy when you first start out and you create a Shopify website and you're like, what's to it? Pack orders, put a label on it, and ship them to the customers. But I think every single person who's gone through that process is going to tell you that it's really not nearly as easy as it seems. If it really was, then we wouldn't be in business. And so the one thing that I think is important to think about before you decide whether you want to do it in-house or whether you want to outsource, and I'm kind of to be the devil's advocate here, not outsourcing the fulfillment might not be for everybody. So if your product is highly customized and you want to have a handwritten message on every single piece of product that you send out, then fulfillment might not be the right fit for you. But you also got to think about, are you going to be handwriting messages when you sell 1,000 orders a day?
Right.
Right. So if you're scaling your business, chances are you're not doing that. Yeah,
absolutely. And the important part is really to take a look at every aspect of what's included in that back office operation. Anything from buying the printers, buying the software that enables you to print the shipping labels, inventory software. You need to get the order data from that website or from your retailer to your warehouse management system and be able to process it. And a lot of people, by the time they kind of realize how much money they've been spending, they just kind of look at it over and they're like, man, this is really expensive. I wish I'd go with somebody and pay them per order.
Yeah. And you have to figure time into the cost, that expense, right? You're going to spend a certain amount of cash just for the physical stuff that you need to do it, but the time you're going to spend to it is going to escalate that expense exponentially.
Yeah.
Tedious, painful process. In terms of your operation and other similar operations, do you guys have like product size limits, things you can or can't handle in terms of the amount and quantity of product, that kind of thing?
I guess the biggest thing is we really want to specialize in some of these smaller parcels. We try to stay away from items like furniture, mattresses, is extremely heavy items that are difficult to ship. I mean, there is, I think, some level of limitation. The smaller items that have higher volume or higher transactions is really where we want to be. But that's not to say that we'll every once in a while kind of take on a challenge and look for items that other people won't take on, just because I think we like the challenge of logistics.
Yeah, and one of the important things I want to add to it is, when you run a larger operation, everything becomes, we're trying to standardize everything, right? Like we're trying to standardize conveyor belts, we're trying to standardize, containers that run on these conveyor belts, and if you start getting into, if you basically tell people I can handle anything, it becomes not only challenging but also very expensive to some extent to kind of add on to that infrastructure. And so, just like Jonathan said, we love challenges. We actually just recently implemented a kind of a handwritten message tool, where we're able to, it's not necessarily handwritten, but it certainly looks like it. So people can include pretty much handwritten messages in every order. And, that was something that, I'm not aware, that anybody else offers the service, but it's been able to kind of give us a competitive edge and offer something extra that people really want. Same goes for custom packaging. So, there's people that will want to put their products in their branded boxes or poly mailers, and we can accommodate it. But, to get there, it was a challenging couple months just trying to figure out, like, hey, how do we optimize our process without really losing that effectiveness of what the process looks like now.
What about doing like inserts if somebody wants to, include promotional materials or a coupon for the next purchase or something like that? How does that get handled?
So I mean that's very much like an additional product. So from our standpoint, we can kind of that insert would be set up in the store that we included with specific products, or in every order, or it's triggered by the marketplace. There's a lot of ways to set it up in the back end, and basically our pickers would then just include that insert into every order that gets picked and send out to the customer.
I think another thing that's important is, why would you include an insert, right? So the whole point of the insert is to get people to go back on the website and order another item.
Right.
So yeah, if you have a coupon code that gets them 10% off, or if it's just a particular item that you may have better margins on, that you can offer that insert into that package, that's a big driver to increase your conversion rates and bring back return customers.
That's great.
Yes.
You guys integrate directly with a lot of platforms, so Shopify, WooCommerce, those kinds of things, so people can actually have those orders come into their cart and straight into you guys, and they're not downloading a file, they're not sending you an email. It's just there, it's in. You guys take it and you ship it. That's the concept, right?
Yeah, we have a fear of orders in emails. Please don't send us orders in an email. So we've spent a lot of money and time in building the system and the integration. So it kind of drives us nuts when people send us an order in an email and be like, "Oh, can you please process it?" Again, our goal is kind of to make the entire flow of orders from customer placing it to really the order hitting the customer's door, all automated without really the customer or our customer doing anything. So if everything kind of flows naturally, the customer doesn't have to press a single button. Everything is just automatic.
And how simple or how painful is the process to get set up and integrated into your system with somebody's Shopify or WooCommerce or other e-commerce system?
Yeah, so I think when people think of warehouses, or let's say fulfillment centers, they think it's a warehouse with a bunch of people and they're all walking around grabbing stuff and putting it in a box, right? Well, like this tool, this inventory and order management system, if every fulfillment center needs to have one, and that really determines on how painful the process it is. So we started using a third-party platform when we first got into the fulfillment space, and we realized like this is archaic. It feels like you're playing Pong or Atari, and we wanted the Uber app of fulfillment centers. We wanted it simple, we wanted it to have high functionality, and we wanted to look cool. And so we took all of this into consideration, and it's really easy to get integrated with Shipmonk to your e-commerce platforms or to your marketplaces like Etsy and eBay.
But to answer your question, it takes about 3 minutes to integrate a Shopify store.
Nice. Very nice.
All right.
That's great.
I mean, it depends how quickly you can click, but maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
So that's That's awesome. That's great. And so for a company who's used to doing this all themselves and they're managing their inventory and they're kind of tracking their own progress, how do your tools integrate so that they can see exactly what's happening with their inventory and their orders?
So, we have the entire platform that our customers log in. They can see the flow of every order that comes in from all the different channels. We have a powerful filters where you can filter by order channel or order type, how many SKUs, or if it's an international or domestic orders. And you can really see kind of what your business is doing in real life. You can, when you click on the detail of an order, you can see exactly what's in it, who is it going to, what's the shipping method, how much the shipping is, what your profit is for that order, because that's kind of a unique thing a lot of people don't realize is that, we have the data that we can give to our customers that show them, okay, you made exactly $7.54 on this order, or you made $40, whatever. Because we have, we know exactly what the shipping is. And if you plug in the right data on your end, we can kind of give you a very accurate P&L of your e-commerce store. And from the inventory side, you manage it through an advanced shipping notification. So basically when you ship inventory, you create what we call a receiving. Mm-hmm. And when the product hits our dock, we receive it. Against that, you'll get a notification with pictures saying, hey, we're expecting 200, we got 198, 2 of your products came broken or damaged or, got wet in transit, whatever the case is, so that, our customer can then go claim it with the carrier. And then from that point, you have a complete tracking of that each individual unit of the inventory in our system. So you can see, where it's stored, if it's part of an order, if it's been allocated, if it's been shipped, and gives you a visibility into the warehouse without ever physically stepping foot inside of it.
Great. Wanted to quickly ask you guys, for a startup just getting started, maybe they don't feel like they're ready for a full fulfillment service like yours right away. One of the most confusing things for new companies in the e-commerce space and the consumer product space is what shipping company or provider to use. What kind of pricing should they be getting? Those kinds of things. Do you guys have any tips or thoughts about kind of what that process is like and who's going to provide the most stable or easy to understand and predict kind of shipping solution?
Johnny, you want to take it?
Yeah. Is that question in regards to the carriers that we're using?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah. So, if I'm starting out in this and I'm shipping off the table and I'm shipping, 5 or 10 units a day, something like that, I'm not ready to go to fully automated fulfillment. I think one of the things entrepreneurs struggle with in this space is, okay, is it United States Parcel Service? Is it USPS? Is it FedEx? Who am I going to get the best deal from? And I know there's no 100% answer on this, but I'm kind of curious about what you guys would recommend somebody do in terms of pricing and finding it and making their lives simpler and weighing the difference between the profit margin they're giving up versus the simplicity in their lives, right?
Yeah. I think, the one thing I want to say, when people are starting out, a lot of the shipping strategy really is it's going to be evolving around what's the product, how heavy is it, and what are the dimensions of it. I would say for any startup, the best way to go is going to be the U.S. Postal Service. Okay. They unfortunately are really not making money, and they're not making money because they're a fairly inexpensive service. And so I think that's going to be probably your best solution to when you're starting out. If you sign up through a shipping software provider, you can usually get discounted shipping rates through USPS. It's nothing dramatic, but it's it kind of allows you to get into that realm of things. So when you say shipping company, most people think FedEx, UPS, but I would say if you're not shipping anything, I would say if you're not shipping over products that are over 5 pounds, I think USPS is going to be your best choice.
And if you use a as you were kind of alluding to, if you sign into like a stamps.com account, it's going to save you a few cents on every order as opposed to just taking it straight to the post office and paying full retail.
Yep, absolutely. So you can definitely save some money on the postage that way. Unfortunately, when you go with somebody like FedEx or UPS, all of their discounts are based on volume. So and it's hard for a young starting company to compete with somebody that ships 10,000 orders a day because they just won't give you those discounts. FedEx, they don't really give discounts on projections. So unless it's kind of and that's kind of a challenging step for any startup in the e-commerce space is, how do I get those rates? And it was very challenging for us when we were starting. How do I get those rates so that I can be competitive with everybody else out there? And the answer is, for the most part, USPS. And you just kind of have to, have such an amazing product that people really don't care how much, or they pay a couple more bucks in shipping, and or include it in the margin of the product. I mean, that's another strategy we see a lot is, people just they offer free shipping on the website, and we get this a lot. They ask us, how do you offer free shipping on the website? And there's no thing as free shipping. Always pay for the shipping, right? It's just into the cost of the product. So there's tons of strategies when it gets to kind of optimizing the cart abandonment component of the shopping cart experience. So free shipping is definitely a huge component in increasing sales. You have to make sure that you're making enough money on the product so that you're not ultimately losing money.
Sure.
Right. But, I think from a customer perspective, and I'm talking the end user, the consumer now, free shipping is always attractive, obviously. Typically it comes with, you spend a certain amount and you get free shipping, but flat rate shipping also, from the manufacturer's perspective, it gets really difficult to try and estimate how much each order is going to cost to go out the door, right? You don't know if they're buying 1 unit or 6 units, whether you're, doing something as small as a terminal tackle, a package of hooks or swivels, or if you're selling fishing reels or fishing rods, right? So, and whether it's going across the city, across the country, or to some, random mountain in rural Alabama that's, got like an extra shipping charge because it's someplace hard to get to. So flat rate shipping, which obviously you have to build into your margins a little bit, can be, a way to simplify the process for your company.
You brought up something there that I think is important for folks to know about fulfillment services in general and Shipmonk, and that is that you guys will also handle wholesale shipments on behalf of manufacturers and resellers as well.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. And that becomes kind of challenging at some point, because if you start, depending on who the wholesaler is, but if you're selling in your case, let's say to Cabela's, they have a very strict requirements as to how do you get the product to that retailer. You need to have certain labeling requirements. You need to put labels in a certain angle on the box. I mean, they get sometimes pretty crazy, and to be familiar with every retailer's guidelines is kind of a pain. And so we've kind of learned throughout the process a lot of the major retailers and what their guidelines are. And obviously, the bigger the shipments get, the more expensive they get, and also the better it becomes for the end, well, not the end consumer, but your customers or our customers, to utilize our shipping discounts that we then pass on to our customers. And whether that means discounted shipping through LTL, which is pallet shipping, or FedEx Ground, where you're shipping 100 large boxes, one of that becomes a pretty significant factor as well.
Yeah, sure. You can save a lot.
You touched on a really important point, and that is the criteria that many of the big box stores and even the distributors are requiring with your labeling, with your packaging, how everything is set. And it is, I can tell you, an absolute nightmare to navigate. If you've never done it before, you're going to get like I'm telling you, like a 55-page document to tell you all the do's and don'ts and how it's got to be loaded and how it's got to be received and how it's got to be labeled. As if you guys are able to master that, right? And obviously, once you get it, you got it, right? You get it for each unique outlet. Once it's set up, you know what the process is. But if you're able to take that headache away from the manufacturer, who now needs to figure out what Dick's Sporting Good needs and what Big Rock Sports needs and what does Maurice need and what does Bass Pro Shops need and what is it is a huge time-sucking, life-sucking ordeal to get that done.
That's
and
for sure.
having a fulfillment partner who can take that off of your hands is
Don't even get started on EDI.
Well, and that's a big part of what we have to deal with for our clients. Our clients have that requirement from big distributors and big dealers, and so that's another component that you guys also integrate with as well.
Yep. And talk about the most frustrating part of the supply chain in today's world. We're talking about API, augmented reality, and robots picking products in the warehouse, and now we have to deal with an ancient technology from the 80s that pretty much major retailers uses today.
Yeah.
Brad loves the 80s. Be careful.
Here we go.
All right. Well,
man, I'm going to take your dentures next show, Keith. What were you going to say, Jan?
No, I was just saying, EDI is a kind of a huge cluster of confusion. I mean, when I first heard EDI, I was like, what is this? It stands for, I think, electronic data
interchange, I think, right? Something like that.
Yeah, and you kind of, at the end of the day, what that really means is that you have a server where you drop a file with certain fields in it, and then somebody else needs to be able to pick it up and know what those fields are.
Yeah.
You have people that are charging thousands of dollars and enable you to read these files and then transfer them back, and they make it sound even more confusing. So, I would recommend when you start getting into EDI, take a week off from whatever you're doing and just. It's a lot for me.
It's a nightmare, and it's such a scammed up. Well, I shouldn't be that harsh. It feels a bit scammed up,
hurts.
And the way they sell it, especially to new companies, is just brutal. You connect with the wrong EDI provider, the wrong middleman, and you're going to be cut out and paying additional fees to the other one that you didn't choose because they're the EDI provider of choice for that distributor, right? And it's just, it needs to die. There's so much better technology for connecting companies. It's just insane.
If you scramble the words, if you scramble the letters, it is die.
Yeah. Can you guys take that on next, please?
Yeah. What are we doing? Yeah, let's.
Might as well.
Hey, we've gone down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I think these are all important things to share with people who may not realize what they're going to encounter when it's time to scale their company and get those products to market. And at the very basic level of this, and this is something that you guys operate on, I'm sure, is the actual barcodes and SKUs on each product, right? It's important that you've got the right data there so that when you scan an item, you know what it is. And when you're packing and shipping and even organizing product, well, if you search on the internet and, we're talking for a young company who's got some products, he's ready to take them to market, and he realizes he needs some codes. And if you go online and look for UPC codes, you're going to see 100 things that are going to tell you, cheap value, fast UPCs, right? Don't take the bait. And I can speak from experience because I was working on this the first time for a customer, and I took the bait. And the codes are usable, but the problem is the codes are actually recycled codes from companies or products that have gone by the wayside. And so you can use them internally for whatever you want. But if a customer actually scans it, puts a red laser scan on it, or obviously in a store puts a scan on it, it's going to show up as whatever it was in its previous life. Now, you can associate your own product with it for inventory purposes, that's fine. But in the big world of taking your product to market, it's not going to do well for you, and you're going to end up having to go to GS1 and actually purchase real, legitimate, first time, never before used codes that are unique to your company, and you will assign each one. They are the worldwide keeper of those codes, and GS1 is going to be your source for anything related to UPC and barcodes. It's something you absolutely have to have when you're taking your product to market, and don't take the bait and go buy the cheap ones. They're not that expensive when you do it, but and GS1 has a great support team that will walk you through the process. But that's something that's going to be required of you.
Yeah, it's definitely a good pointer. Barcodes are, especially once you get into retail, if that's the goal, barcodes are definitely a necessity. And it's important to make sure, they're easily readable and scannable, and they, they register with the right organization, just like you said.
Hey, I loved when we went through the tour the other day with our client of this facility again. I think one of the things I really wanted to make sure people were aware of is one of the things that you guys are doing, I think is really cool, is photographing shipments. And let's talk a little bit about why you do that and why anyone would want to do that, and the value to your clients, your customers.
Yeah, so we, when as kind of any startups goes through certain periods of time, and we learn about the problems of our customers, one of the issues that we started seeing a lot was people were getting packages. I mean, our customers were being contacted by the end customer and saying, "Hey, we, got this package, but it was empty," or we didn't get enough product, or we didn't get,
this could be the wrong color. The wrong
size.
They were,
or I ordered a leash for my dog, not a vibrator.
Well, yeah, that. So, but we're like kind of, I mean, our error rate is very small, and we look at the weight of these products, and we're like, well, this is not, the weight just doesn't make any sense. I mean, it is supposed to be what they ordered, and so we started adding cameras to every packing station, and basically the moment our packer scans the order, it starts taking pictures of everything that's happening on the table. So we can see, at any point, what are they packing? How are they packing it? How did it go in the box? How is that label applied to the box? And then it goes on a conveyor belt to the carrier, and then to the customer door. So, if that depends on, the policy that people have on their website, but you can provide the person a proof and be like, hey, this, if you're saying that you didn't get it, here's a proof that it was in that package. Some people will not want to go that way, and they'll just say, hey, we'll refund you, whatever. And, there's a small percentage of people that are just scammers, and that's all day. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But, if you have the proof that the product was in there, and unless it was stolen en route, which is almost nearly impossible because the packages are sealed, and, it's not easy to open and steal a product out of it. It becomes a hard evidence that the product was shipped. And so we added these pictures, and, we want to add as many pictures as we can. So we take pictures of the products when they come in. We take pictures of the products when they leave the warehouse, and we also take pictures of returns. Because if, if you're selling apparel or something that might be easily returned after use, we want to take a picture of it and show you, the customer, that it actually hasn't been used. It's a brand new product.
That's great. I love cool. That service. I'm dying to send that email to somebody with the photo.
I was, that was probably one of the most impressive things to me when we toured the facility is how high tech everything is in your operation. It's not what I envisioned before I walked in, and man, just super, super impressive to see how things are running there. Let me ask you something. A lot of people you will hear when you talk about, hey, what's the best way to handle my fulfillment of product? And if I'm going to go with a distribution center, what are the things that I should be looking for? And I've heard a lot of people say, hey, you want to think about the location, and is it going to be a West Coast delivery? Is it going to be an East Coast delivery? If you're in the middle of the country, maybe your shipping's a little bit less, from Kentucky to Tennessee than it is from Florida to California, or vice versa. At this day and age, with as quickly as product is moving around the country and around the world for that matter, does it matter? Does being in Florida make a difference? Is it an advantage or any disadvantage, or is it better to be in a more centralized location?
So I think, there's a lot of different factors that come into play. And the number one thing is, where are your customers and how heavy is the product? So one of the kind of an interesting anomalies when it gets to shipping is the fact that if your product is less than a pound, the shipping cost to ship a product next door or to ship it across the country to California is exactly the same.
Right.
You're paying the same price, whether it goes 1 mile or 2,000 miles. And so if your product is under a pound, it really doesn't matter where you are. Obviously, delivery time becomes a little bit of a concern, but everything under a pound flies. And so the delivery time is between 1 to 2 to 3 days max. And that's kind of I would say above standard anyway. So, for people that have a product that is less than a pound, this usually is not a concern. And ultimately, it also depends where your customers are. So, obviously in the fishing industry, Florida is a huge market, right? I mean, everybody,
Sure.
not everybody.
Biggest in the country for sure.
Yeah. And so, there's another kind of a common thought is, okay, most of my customers are in California, because most of what we see from our perspective is a lot of companies we work with, most of their customers are in California. But the funny part is that every other state on the East Coast, if you add them up, they might be 80 or 90% of everything they sell. So although California is their single most shipped to state, all the other states that are on the East Coast are going to be a much bigger them up. So it wouldn't make sense, and we can easily run an analysis, and we have a dashboard where you can see how many orders you're shipping to which state, and what's the percentage of the total orders. And I think there's a statistics where 70 or 80% of population lives east of the Mississippi River, right? So and that's really where your consumers are most likely going to be, unless you're selling fertilizers for potatoes or something.
Which you're not shipping. Was location part of the equation of where you chose to put your headquarters?
The main part of the equation was, how far am I going to have to drive from my house to work?
I like your style.
But ultimately, I mean, we I started the business here, and we were close to South America, and so for our business, in the package forwarding world, it was a good location, because it was close to Europe and it was close to South America, where most of our customers were located at the time. When we got to fulfillment, we already had the facility, so to move it for an experiment didn't really make sense.
Right.
What we've learned now is that location is definitely a factor, but it's definitely not as important. I mean, we have tons of customers from California, we have tons of customers from Oregon who are using us because they know that they're, from a technology standpoint, there's nobody even in Cali that might be able to offer the same services. And part of our expansion strategy, by the end of the year, we want to open up a West Coast facility to cater to the people that might have most of their customers in California or on the West Coast, who bring containers through LA,
right.
And that way they don't have to freight them all the way to Florida. So I would say location is definitely important, but I would say there are other things that are definitely important to keep in mind when choosing a partner to work with.
All right. Well, where you're at, there's, aren't containers coming into Jacksonville and in Port Everglades close to you as well?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of containers come to Miami, a lot of containers come to New York, and then we truck them down. I mean, we have customers who bring containers to LA and then they truck them to us here in Florida. And it actually is very, kind of satisfying to see that, the container probably passes 1,000 fulfillment centers on the way, and we're the ones they go to because they know that we can provide the service.
Well, I think what people can take from this is location doesn't mean what it used to when it comes to fulfillment, especially if you don't have a huge product. And so really the smart thing is to find a partner that you're really comfortable with and is going to make your job easier, more efficient, and hopefully at the end of the day, save you some money. Guys, this has really been, I think, enlightening for a lot of people who never even thought about this topic or never even knew that this was, an option to have a solution like this. So we thank you guys for giving us the time and helping explain it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. It was great.
Yeah, we appreciate we appreciate you guys having us.
Since we recorded this episode with Jan and Jonathan, they've offered to give our FishBiz audience a way to save money on fulfillment services from Shipmonk. Go to mark5strategies.com/shipmonk to get your minimum fees waived for the first 3 months. That's a great deal for startups. It takes away a lot of pressure and saves you money while you're getting things ramped up. If you like this kind of content, we invite you to subscribe at FishBizPodcast.com, on iTunes, or wherever you download your podcasts from. If there's an industry leader or insider you'd like us to interview, or a topic you would like us to cover, please put that suggestion in the comment section below. If you'd like to get a hold of me or Brad, you'll find contact info at mark5strategies.com. And with that, we call this one a wrap. Thanks again to Jan Bednar and Jonathan Smith from Shipmonk. For Brad Nickel, I'm Keith Allen. Thanks for joining us on FishBiz, the Business of Fishing podcast.